Some things are never meant to be discovered. Some secrets should remain buried. The Anderson family was about to learn that sometimes the darkest things are not lurking in the shadows, but standing right in front of you. In today's terrifying true story, you'll hear about a family who unknowingly invited something sinister into their lives and only discovered it too late. In the quiet town of Smallville, Oklahoma, life moved slowly. The Andersons, Michael, his wife Karen, and their teenage daughter Lucy, had just moved into a lovely two-story house on the edge of town. It was the perfect place to start fresh. Michael had gotten a job as the town's new sheriff, and Karen was looking forward to working from home as a freelance writer. The house was cozy, with old charm and plenty of space. It had a wide backyard and a wraparound porch. The previous owners had moved out in a hurry, but the Andersons didn't think much of it. It was the kind of place where they could finally settle down after years of moving from one town to another. Their first few days in the house were peaceful, but then small, unexplainable things began to happen. At first, it was little stuff. Doors slightly ajar when they remembered closing them, lights flickering on their own. Lucy often complained that she felt like someone was watching her, especially from the backyard. But Karen brushed it off as her daughter's imagination. "It's just the wind, honey. You'll get used to the house," she would say. But Lucy wasn't convinced. One chilly evening, Lucy was sitting on her bed, texting her friends, when she caught something out of the corner of her eye. She glanced at the window and saw a figure standing at the edge of the backyard. It was just standing there, motionless, staring directly at her window. At first, she thought it might be one of her neighbors playing a prank, but the figure didn't move. Lucy's heart raced. She closed the curtains quickly and ran downstairs. "Dad, there's someone outside," she yelled, her voice shaky. Michael grabbed a flashlight and rushed outside, but by the time he got to the backyard, there was no one there. He did a thorough search of the area but found nothing. No footprints, no sign of anyone lurking. "There's nobody out there, Lucy," he said when he came back inside. "You probably just saw a shadow." But Lucy was sure of what she saw. From that night on, she refused to go near the windows after dark. A few nights later, while Karen was working late at her desk, she heard a faint knock coming from the front door. It was almost midnight, far too late for anyone to be visiting. She hesitated for a moment, listening. Then the knock came again. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Karen looked out the window next to the door, but there was no one there. She unlocked the door and opened it cautiously, but the front porch was empty. Confused, she closed the door and double-checked the locks. As she turned away, she heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, it was louder, coming from the back of the house. She grabbed Michael, and they both went outside to investigate. Again, there was no one in sight. "What's going on?" Karen asked, starting to feel uneasy. Michael tried to reassure her, but deep down, he too was beginning to sense something wasn't right with the house. The real terror began the following week, when Lucy made a disturbing discovery. While exploring the basement one afternoon, she stumbled across a small door hidden behind some old shelves. The door was barely noticeable, blending into the wall. Curious, she called her parents, and together they opened it. What they found on the other side made their blood run cold. The room was small, no bigger than a closet, and it was filled with old photographs. Hundreds of black and white pictures of the house, taken from different angles, many of them showing the Andersons. But the most unsettling part was that these photos had been taken recently. Some of the pictures were of Lucy, standing in the backyard, others showed Karen at her desk, and Michael sitting in the living room. The angles were as if someone had been watching them from inside the house. In the center of the room was an old chair, and next to it, a large mirror. The chair looked as though it had been recently used. Michael's heart raced as he picked up one of the photos. "Who took these?" he muttered under his breath. That night, after locking up the house, Michael decided to keep watch. Armed with his flashlight and his sheriff's instincts, he sat in the darkened living room, listening for any sound that might explain the strange happenings. At around 2 a.m., he heard something, a faint creaking noise coming from upstairs. Quietly, he went to check, careful not to wake Karen or Lucy. As he reached the top of the stairs, he saw a shadow move at the end of the hallway. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice steady but filled with tension. There was no response. He rushed toward Lucy's room, but when he opened the door, there was nothing. Everything was in its place, and Lucy was sound asleep. That's when he felt it, the presence behind him. Slowly, Michael turned around and saw the figure standing at the other end of the hallway, just beyond the light's reach. It was the same figure Lucy had seen in the yard. A tall, dark silhouette with no visible features. Without thinking, Michael ran toward it, but the figure vanished into the shadows before he could reach it. The only thing left behind was the faint sound of breathing. The next day, Michael and Karen called the previous owner of the house, hoping for answers. The elderly man hesitated before speaking, his voice shaky. "I should have warned you, but no one would have believed me. That house, it has a history. The man who built it lived there alone for years, watching people, taking pictures. He was obsessed with the idea that no one was ever really alone. He believed he could become the house, see through its walls, hear its sounds. When he died, they found him in that small room, still watching. He's still there," the man added quietly. "He never left." That evening, the Anderson family packed their belongings, ready to leave the house forever. But just as they were about to leave, Lucy froze in the doorway, staring at the reflection in the large mirror by the staircase. "Mom? Dad? Look." In the mirror, they could see the figure standing right behind them, just out of reach, silently watching. They ran from the house without looking back. Thank you for watching this episode from The Lures of the Past. If you enjoyed this journey into mystery and intrigue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when our next tale from the past goes live.